Hi, everyone. Thank you so much to Anuja Joshi. I think the pronunciation is right.
Anuja, yes. Hi.
Anuja, hi. The amazing Leela Devi in the Fox medical drama The Resident. Thank you, Anuja, for joining us today.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me.
So, tell us about it. What's the one element that fascinates you the most about this character and that convinced you to join the show in the first place?
Oh gosh, so many things, but I think probably the number one thing that drew me to Leela was the fact that she deals with a learning disability. I think that that's very rare to see that portrayed in mainstream Hollywood, and also the fact that I am an Indian woman, a woman of color, in a mainstream Hollywood show now. I think it's pretty major. And so that was in and of itself a huge honor. And then as I started learning more about the character and working with our showrunners and our producers and our directors, I just realized that this is such an honor to play such a strong, independent, intelligent woman who doesn't really rely on anyone to get ahead in life. It's an honor to be able to play a woman that strong.
Yeah, I totally feel you because the character, even though the character in the first place was a bit marginal, she kind of she conquers the audience with how brilliant she is, and how despite her disability, I mean, dyslexia is such a frequent disability.
Yes. Yes.
among people, and despite this, she's kind of makes her own path, her own journey among many other doctors and interns, and that's amazing.
It is. It really, really is. And it happened slowly. You're so right. And I think that's what makes the writing so great on our show. I was introduced in episode 8 of season 4.
Yeah.
Halfway through a shortened season because of COVID. And even now, when I look back on the way the character was introduced and the way she was brought into the fold, you have to remember 4 seasons into a very successful show with characters that everyone loves, to be introduced and to hope that the audience can connect to you as well. It's not, it's scary. You want to do a good job and you want to make sure that you're also somebody that the audience can root for. And I have to thank all of the people doing this, the writers and the directors we get to work with really helped guide me in how to make Leela somebody that maybe, someone can relate to, someone watching,
Yes, absolutely. And also the writers did really an amazing job, because we know that in television there are thousands of shows like The Resident, I mean, medical shows. So they had to find really an original perspective to tell the story. And I think they really did an outstanding job at it.
I agree. I can't take any credit for that. We have an amazing team. I'm very lucky to be working with them.
Talking about your work portraying Leela, how did you approach this character with all its nuances and its complexity? I mean, as we said before, with dyslexia and the fact that she's Indian, she's not a typical American girl.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, all of those things contribute to who the character is. And I definitely took time to speak to people within my network, and also people that I was connected through my professional network that actually grapple and live with dyslexia. And it is it's a spectrum disorder, right? So it really can affect people in many different ways. So me kind of working with our writers to figure out, how does the dyslexia manifest in her life, and how does it change the way she solves problems, and what are her analytical thinking abilities because of the way that she thinks? Can she think out of the box? What makes her stronger because of it? Not really focusing on what sets her back. Yeah. Because one of the most amazing episodes I had the privilege to play in season 4, we had a tornado come rip through Chastain, and that was the first time I think the audience really got to see that her dyslexia can be such a source of strength, because she can think in creative ways that maybe other people wouldn't be able to problem solve. So that was a big part of my initial research with this character. And as far as the fact that obviously she's an Indian American woman, I think that culture will always inform some aspect of who you are. If you're from a family that has parents that lived in a different country and immigrated to the US, that's always going to inform a little bit of your cultural outlook. But I love that it's not a central thread in who she is. I mean, she's a doctor first and foremost. It's not that she's an Indian doctor. She
Yeah.
is a smart, very strong go-getter who happens to be an Indian woman. And that is amazing because I grew up in the US and I didn't introduce myself like, hi, I'm Anuja. I'm an Indian girl from the US. Like it's just, I'm Anuja and I grew up in America. I went to India and worked there for a while. And I think that it doesn't really have to be all about that. Obviously, I'm very proud to be Indian. And it's one of the most, I think, beautiful cultures. I'm very lucky to be part of such a beautiful culture. But Leela is really just all about being a doctor. And I think that's really cool.
Absolutely. And talking about this kind of work you did, what's the main challenge you experienced in portraying this character?
Oh my gosh, the medical dialogues are really tough sometimes.
Yeah.
We have amazing medical correspondents, one of which Sunshine is. I mean, I think if you really read any interviews about this show, a lot of people will shout out Sunshine. She's amazing. But I also I struggle with some of the medical dialogue, especially these diseases and these words and these body parts and these organs. And you have to not only say it correctly, you have to say it with conviction. So sometimes the night before, I'm like reading it over and over, being like, please let me be able to get this right. But that's probably the hardest part of it. But it's a medical drama, so you have to get good at it. Maybe one day I'll be really good at it. Who knows?
I think that this kind of shows really taught us something about this world. I mean, I'm a huge fan of medical dramas, so I think that in the end, when we keep watching this show, in your case, working on the show, we kind of learn something from them, from this universe.
Yeah, I grew up watching, as in I was in high school, watching House.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling so like after 5-6 episodes, you convince yourself you're a doctor. It's really scary. Like, I know what that is. Like, you're like screaming at the TV, being like, you're not doing the right surgery. It's like insane. Obviously, you have to remind yourself you're watching a TV show. But medical dramas are awesome. And they really, especially with The Resident really uncovers a lot of very interesting medical cases. I think a lot of people can learn about the healthcare system by watching our show as well.
Yeah. In fact, that's one thing that really fascinates me in watching The Resident. The fact that that's not all about medicine in the cases and all, but that's a sort of overview of the whole medical system.
Yes.
And also there's this insight in the lives of the doctors.
Yeah, and so much more. Doctors, like anyone, are humans.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think it's really beautiful to humanize people who are really meant to do sometimes the most miraculous, impossible, heroic things.
Yes.
It's amazing. I have so much respect for anyone in the medical community. I mean, my gosh, they are truly heroes.
Yeah. And I think I cannot think how inspiring it must be for you to portray a character that's an hero in our time, considering the pandemic and what's going on in the world.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. It's not a responsibility I take lightly at all. It's a huge honor. And you want to get it as right as you can because you've been given something that's like, it's pretty major, portray a character who is dealing with a learning disability, who is, working at the top upper echelon of surgeon and surgical excellency. It's really amazing. And I'm just really grateful. It's been so awesome.
And relying on the fact that we were mentioning before, the fact that doctors are also humans, where are you and Leela most similar, and where are you and Leela most different as human beings, as people?
Yeah, I think Leela is similar to me in the sense that she's when she wants to get really good at something, she will rest at absolutely nothing to get good at that thing, you know. And so for me, I do have a little bit of that trait. If I have a goal, it's very hard for me to think about anything else, or I'm very regimented when I set my mind to something. And I think Leela really has that, you know. She's,
Yeah.
I think in last season, she was told that she's really not good at doing surgical ties with her hands. And so in the episode, you just see her for hours and hours and hours just practicing it, like just to get it absolutely perfect. And that diligence, and I think it's a big part of the way I was raised, you know, to really just don't do something halfway, you know, try to really get good at it. And obviously I don't call myself an expert at anything, but I really do try to get as constantly improve and to really just never stagnate.
Yeah.
That's something that I think that we're similar with. How we're different, I think Leela has a really tough time balancing her work life and her personal life. You know, she's all about getting to where she wants to go. And I also think a large part of that is she has to work 3 times, 4 times as hard as everybody else because of her learning disability. And I think that sometimes really affects her relationships with her parents, as you've seen in this season, or with her boyfriend, or with her sister, or even with colleagues. That is something that I feel like I manage pretty well. Obviously, being an actress is really, our schedules are very random. We're
Yeah.
constantly traveling, you know, but I really do try to prioritize my work-life balance, spending time with my family, spending time with my sister, my fiance, as much as I can. And when you come home, really try to focus on your real life, not your
Yeah.
screen life.
Yes, absolutely. That's really an important thing, considering how full your life is, how
Yeah.
at times even confusing, I think, but because you have to take care of such many things, so many things.
I think about it a lot. Obviously, it can be emotionally exhausting if you are working many scenes a day. But every time I come home, I think, my gosh, you know, what about people who are really working with real life patients that they get attached to, or they, you know, they really want to heal. And, you know,
Yeah.
unfortunately, sometimes you deal with fatalities, you deal with real life things. And gosh, to come home and to be able to compartmentalize that and focus on maybe your children or your family, I mean, that can be really hard. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how people do it when they're really doing it for real.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
And talking about season 5, we have to see the last instance of it. What can you tease about Leela's journey? We saw her in a really tough situation in because of such an important topic for women, that is fertility and
Yeah.
becoming a mother. What can you tease about her journey?
You know, I think in the next few episodes, as we get to the end of the season, you're really going to see Leela contemplate what she wants in life, and more than just her career, which is on fire. You know, she's really working hard, and, you know, the people at Chastain who work with her are seeing her succeed and seeing how she's really, really worked to get to where she is, and hopefully will continue to grow. But I think towards the end, you'll see her asking herself, or her looking at her life more holistically. What do I want just outside of this amazing career? You know, how do I want to prioritize my personal life? Where do I see my future going? That has been wonderful to play. Because I think women go through it a lot. You know, we get
Yeah.
to a point in our lives where you might be completely focused on your career, or you might be having a great career, but you feel like your personal life is lacking. I think it's so normal. It's so normal for women to deal with that. And I think obviously men deal with it too, but I think I can only speak as a woman living a woman experience. It's tough. You know,
Yeah.
I'm getting married soon, and in my own personal life, it's like, wow, like that's gonna change so many things, because now you're balancing a personal life with a partner, you know, versus just managing everything on your own. So those kinds of decisions, you'll get to see a lot of that towards the end of the season.
And we can't wait to see more of that.
Yeah.
First of all, congratulations on your wedding, on your
Oh,
upcoming
thank you.
wedding.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I got engaged during the pandemic. So that was crazy in 2020, in the middle of 2020.
Yeah.
And shortly after, did a show in India, 2 seasons of a show in India, and then shortly after came and did this. So my life has been, in a beautiful way, very busy and random. But now we're prioritizing doing it, now, especially that hopefully, I don't want to speak too soon, that the pandemic is kind of slowed down to a bit where we can travel a little more freely, safely.
I hope so for you.
Me too, me too, me too.
And how was it like, talking about what the important topic of fertility we were talking before? How was it like for you to portray this storyline, this element that's so important for women? How did you do some researches about it, or?
Oh yeah, yeah. And actually, I have a lot of people in my close friends and family who have dealt with IVF and freezing their eggs, and really family planning in the modern age, not letting maybe their chronological age or their biological clock stop them from their goals, but rather turn to science to try to kind of extend their time and give them a little bit of freedom. So I know a lot of people have been going through it, and I know a lot of people who've had immense success. I've also known a lot of people who've had a really, really hard time.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking, when it doesn't work. And I feel for the women who are struggling with their fertility so much, because there's a lot of, I think, I like to say, toxic positivity around the situation. Giving birth is natural, it's a woman's duty. There's a lot of
Yeah.
really potentially toxic narratives around it. And I think that as a whole, as a medical community, it's important to be sensitive, and also to be sensitive to women who don't want to have children. I think it's all about, what do you want in life? And that's been a lot of the things I've heard. Yeah.
I think that's really important, in particular, considering we're in 2022. So it's important to give women a choice.
Yeah.
About
yeah.
it.
And also, it's so interesting with the storyline with Padma and Leela, because Padma wants a child but can't have one, and Leela can have children, potentially very healthy children, very easily, but it's just not her priority. And I thought that was such a great dichotomy, because identical twins who are so similar in so many ways can want completely different things for their future.
Exactly.
That was really awesome, to just play that off of my sister, and she is my real life sister. So there's already such a close connection there.
Yeah, and it was really beautiful for us to see you both on screen, your real life twin sister. And how was it like for you to play with her, to work alongside her?
Yeah, we work really well together, and this is so interesting because this is the first thing we've ever shared a screen on. This is the first time we've ever worked together on screen, and it's been a blast. Yeah, it's been a blast. We work together really well. We're great on set together. We also give each other space when we need each other to give space, as it pertains to the scene or whatever. It's also fun to, now the crew knows her so well, and she's been back for so many episodes. So it's been nice. I like working with her. It's like kind of like where we get to like hang out with your best friend all day.
Yeah, and that's also a chance for you to be together more
Yeah,
for more
our
time.
parents are really proud of us. That's one thing I will say. I think my parents could not be happier to see us working together. It brings them a lot of joy.
I can imagine that. And it was really, it was really shocking at first, because I didn't know you had a twin sister. So seeing her appearing on screen in that episode when Padma appears, it was really incredible.
It's so funny. I have to tell you this. There was one day I walked onto the set, and some of the crew thought that I was going to be playing both roles, because people didn't know that I have a twin. And then I had to say, you guys, no, like, she's my actual twin sister. And they're like,
yeah, because I think that in the television universe, in most series, they use the same actors to play both roles when they have twins.
Exactly. Exactly. It was so funny. It took everyone a minute to understand. Oh my gosh, this is actually her twin. Like, it was so funny. But it's been great. And I'm really grateful for the writers, giving us this chance. And it seems like people are liking it. And so we have a lot of fun doing it.
I can imagine that. And talking about the set, the environment on set, how can you describe your experience on the set of The Resident?
Oh my gosh. We have one of the best teams I've ever had the privilege of working with. And I've worked obviously much more in India up until I got The Resident. But the crew and the cast and the technicians and everybody who is on that set, my gosh, they are all such great people and so patient with one another and so respectful to one another. It's really a privilege because it's not always the case, as a lot of people know. And oh my gosh, the set itself is so impressive. It's like a huge soundstage. The first day I walked on, I was like a fan of the show. And I was so taken aback with how realistic everything looks. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm inside Chastain. I've been only watching this on TV and now I'm walking around the set and it's just incredible. Everything is so realistic. There's so much attention to detail with the signs and you see it in the show, but being there in person is in something else entirely.
I can imagine that. And talking about the main interaction relationship that your character has, I mean, with Devon in particular,
Mm-hmm.
and then in this season we saw her kind of becoming starting this friendship and this mentorship with Billy Sutton.
Yes.
How was it like to build this kind of relationships with both Manish Dayal and Jessica Lucas? How was it like for you?
Oh my gosh, it's so easy because they're at this point now probably my closest friends. They're amazing people, both of them. They're fantastic actors. I look up to them a lot professionally, and they're just really good people. So having that rapport, having that comfort on screen is very easy. They make my job very easy by being so great. But at first, it was really interesting to see the track, especially with Billy and Leela, because it's kind of happened a little recently. The kind of connection that they have and how she really looks up to Billy. Billy is killing it at the hospital. She is, at the top of her game. So yeah, that's been really nice. I enjoy doing scene work with Jessica. She's a fantastic actress and I love what she does. Every time I watch her performance back, I'm always really moved and she's so humble about it. And gosh, sometimes I'm like working with her, like, you're so good. It's like so easy to.
Yeah, I think that their relationship kind of grows in a very natural way.
Yes.
Throughout the episodes.
And also, we have such strong women characters on the show, whether it's Billy or it's Kit, now we're seeing Cade. It's so cool because all of us are written in a way where we're incredibly confident and good at our jobs. And it's kind of nice to work with another powerful, confident character.
Yeah, I think they're both women and men on the show are on the same level. You don't see actual difference between women doctors or men doctors.
You're so right. You're so right about that, and it's amazing. It's awesome to be able to play that.
And also with nurses and such, I think they're all on the same level, and that's the beauty of the show.
Yeah, I think it's on the writing, and it's also in real life. The way everybody treats one another with so much respect, and everyone knows that we're all there to do a good job, and everybody supports one another a lot. If I'm having a tough day where the scene is not going the way I want it to go, everybody will come around and listen and support and say, how can we help each other make it into something really good? Because that's what you want from your workplace and your co-stars and your scene partners.
Exactly. And that's really an important thing for you as actors in particular, but I think for everyone in every job environment, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And talking about if you had to choose, that's a fun question that we always ask to people we're interviewing, of course. we're
Okay.
changing the subject because of the different series, but if you had to choose one character on The Resident, apart from Leela, which you find most similar to you, more close to you, which would it be?
Ooh, that's a really good question. If I had to pick a different character, and who's closest to me at Anuja?
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I'm a lot like Nurse Jessica. You know, I think that Nurse Jessica really knows when to step up to the plate, but largely she's not the biggest personality in the room all the time. Like, she's a very quiet strength.
Yeah.
But when she's asked to come through, she is like constantly reliable. And she's also so sweet and friendly. And I like to think that maybe people think I'm friendly. So yeah, I think I love Nurse Jessica as a character. I really connected to her when I watched her as just an audience member, when I wasn't even on the show. I like her relationship with Belle, and I feel like even with me and Bruce, the actor who plays Dr. Bell, I feel like there's a lot of that relationship, kind of like mentory, kind, you know. And if I'm having a tough day, I can also talk to him. He's a good friend too. So
yeah, really beautiful, a beautiful answer.
Oh, thanks.
Still talking about if you had to choose a fun scene, a scene that was fun to shoot on The Resident, and one instead that was most challenging to shoot, which one would it be?
You know, I think one of the more fun scenes I shot, I think in season 4, there was a scene where I'm playing darts at the bar with everybody, and I'm supposed to have like 3 bullseyes in a row. And I am so bad at darts, like in real life. And everybody had to react like, oh my gosh, she's so great and she's hitting the bullseye. And I don't think I hit anywhere near the bullseye ever, not once. They did a cool camera trick to make it look like I hit the bullseye perfectly, but obviously that was not real because who can hit 3 bullseyes in a row?
I don't know. That's not me.
And the first 3 times I did it, I didn't even hit the dartboard. I hit the wall, and then I hit like the floor. And they were like, God, this woman is dangerous. Like, take the darts out of her hand. She's gonna hurt somebody. And all of the actors had to be like, wow, and pretend that I did this amazing thing. We just kept cracking up because they were all like, you're so bad. And I just remember we laughed a lot that day. And when I watched it back, I was shocked at how good they made me look, because it was a disaster.
That's the magic of television.
Yes.
And cinematography.
Absolutely. Hardest. I think, you know, the episode this season when Nick Nevins gets into the accident, I think that was a really hard one. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think collectively that was like a hard one on a lot of people because it was so emotional, and we're doing justice to a character that has been loved since the very first episode. And yeah, that, I think just in general, it wasn't hard. It was emotional, you know, and we wanted to make sure that we're portraying the story in the best way. And that was definitely probably one of the tougher ones for me.
Definitely. It was also truly emotional for me as a viewer, as an audience. So I cannot think how emotional could it be for you while working on it.
That one, and another one I'll add is when Devin gets ill.
Yeah.
That was a hard one on me because it's like you're trying to show, you know, how much love and care you have for this person who's suffering, but also Leela's a doctor. So how can I balance my emotions in the workplace? But it's like this person I love so dearly who might die. And that was also really tough at times, but we pulled through that one.
Absolutely. And throwing back to your past experiences in acting, what's the role you're most fond of? And what's the role that most challenged you, as in both personally and professionally that helped you grow?
Well, I did a show in India, which was a 3-season show called Hello Minnie. And that was the first show I ever got. And then we took a long break. And then in the pandemic, we shot seasons 2 and 3 in a COVID quarantine bubble. We all lived in the same hotel, the cast, the crew, everybody. And we shot for many, many days. And I lived there and worked there. And that was an experience I will never forget. It was incredibly exhausting. It was a little scary because none of us were vaccinated and the numbers in India were really, really high. And I was in effectively almost every single scene. And we were getting tested pretty often. And it was a very high octane show as well. It's a thriller. So emotionally, I'm very, like, it's just, I'm stressed a lot in the show. I'm crying, I'm screaming, I'm running, I'm afraid. And so just physically very taxing.
Yeah.
The season 1 did extremely well and the fans were very fond of it. And so I felt an immense responsibility to do a good job in season 2 and 3 as well.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of pressure.
There was
all kind of ways.
There was a ton of pressure. And I think that show, all 3 seasons of that show, was like my training camp of how to really survive long days on set. And I think I got good at it. Like, it's like a workout, the more you work out, the stronger you're going to get. So that, I think, is the toughest, but also most rewarding thing I've done. And in terms of a favorite character, I did a show in India called Broken But Beautiful, season 2.
Yeah.
And I played a character in that named Debbie. And I loved her. I loved playing her. I thought she was really funny. I love comedy. And so she was funny, she was quirky, and I enjoyed delving into that. I think that was probably one of my, aside from Leela, I think one of my more favorite characters I've gotten the chance to play.
Perfect. And talking about the kind of origins of your passion for acting, was it something that you always loved from when you were since you were a child, or did you sort of grew this passion over the years?
Yeah, I think probably since I was a child, I grew up in a family filled with actors and actresses. My father was a child star in India. My aunt is still an actress in India. So it was a very big part of my reality. I grew up around a lot of artists. My grandmother was a classical music teacher, so I started singing at the age of 4, dancing shortly after that, and then doing a lot of stage. And so the combination of singing, dancing, and acting took me into musical theater for a very long time. And that's when I fell in absolute love with performing in general. So there was a period of time where I thought maybe it'll be dance, or maybe it'll be music, or maybe it'll just be acting. And then that kind of kept growing and growing and growing as I got older. And then when I went to college at NYU, that's when I started really going for it professionally, and it was mainly theater. And then, then India happened, and then it became more prevalent that I wanted to work on screen for film and television. So it kind of happened really naturally, but I was always on stage. I was always performing as a kid, and I didn't like sports. I didn't like anything else. I wasn't very good at anything else either. I really just liked performing.
I totally feel you, because I had kind of the same journey, because
really?
I'm kind of a singer.
Oh wow!
I love singing. I haven't really studied it, but I love it. And at first, when I was a child, I always loved to perform, like in front of family.
Yeah,
like doing sketches and songs and ballads. So
yeah,
I totally feel what you're saying, because I experimented it myself.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that's so cool. And I think because you're a performer as well, that when you love to perform, like, there is nothing else that's going to feel
I
that
think
fulfilling.
I'm a really shy person in life, but when I get on stage, that doesn't exist.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. And I love, and I hope you're still actively pursuing all of that.
I think that with the pandemic, it was also very difficult, but I'm trying to kind of restart it all.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely go for it. Listen, you have to go for it. If that's how you feel, Anyone.
I was also talking with another actors we were interviewing today, that the having an education in musical theater, I think that for an actor is also very, very useful, because it gives you like skills. You can choose what skill to develop more.
I believe in training, and I think that a lot of different actors will say different things about what works for them. What works for me has always been taking classes, like acting classes, learning music in a professional environment with a professional. And I also know people who are incredibly talented without any training. So it really is about what works for the person individually. I do think my experience in theater made film and TV a little bit simpler for me, especially when it comes to learning lines.
Yeah.
Because in theater, you kind of just you have to learn the whole thing, and you only get one chance to do it. You don't get to do retakes. And so for me, dialogues and learning long paragraphs and things, I think I got very good at that while I was doing theater. And so I don't have a tough time with. So that's an example of a skill that I got because of training,
Yeah, absolutely. And still lying on this concept, if you had to give an advice to someone who wants to pursue this kind of career, this career in acting, wants to join this world, which is which is very difficult to join, which kind of advice would you give them?
I've had this question before, and I've said the same exact thing every time, and it's going to sound crazy, but if there's anything else in your world that you like more than this, go do it. I think you have to be so obsessed with wanting to do it, because there's a lot of heartbreak. You're going to get rejected a lot. It's not easy for everybody. Sometimes it takes people many, many years. There's struggle involved. You're going to get really close for some things and get your hopes up. And it's just, you have to be really ready for it. And I think about my life, and I think if I had a passion for something else that was more than this, I would not put myself through the heartbreak of becoming an actress. I think that it can be really tough at times. So I have friends like, or I have like relatives that'll come to me and say, I think I want to do this. I said, that's great. You should definitely try. If you think you want to do something, you should go for it. 100%. You should chase all your dreams. But eventually, if you realize I'm not super passionate about it, then it's truly not worth, it's not worth it. You should go and do something that you're really, really passionate about. And I think artists I have a lot of friends who are artists who agree. They say, if it's not 24/7 something that you're dreaming of and you really, really want, it isn't worth it.
Yeah, you really have to believe it to succeed, because it's such a tough world. And so if you haven't this determination and passion, I think that you cannot really go for it completely.
Yeah, and there's a lot of sacrifice involved as well, and I think that's something that people, at least I didn't realize, because I said to myself, I don't care what happens. I have to do this. This is the only thing that I care about. This is the only goal in my life. But also because of The Resident, which is an amazing opportunity, I moved back to the US. So I did long distance again with my fiance, who has an acting career in India. So that's an example of a big sacrifice, because I love this job so, so much. I will put myself through, on the personal front, things that are, sometimes not the best. And we travel a lot. We don't know where our next job will be. I mean, right now the show shoots in Atlanta. I could be, in the future in a different city doing something else. And you don't really have a whole lot of stability. So you have to be okay with that too. You have to be okay with the next few months of your life is always just going to be a little bit of a mystery. And that's a big part of the industry that people don't realize. You don't get that constant stability all the time, where you know where you're going to be, where you're going to be working. That's a tough one too.
Thank you so much, Anuja, for joining us today, for these beautiful words you shared with us.
Thank you.
And we can remind our audience that The Resident airs on, I don't remember the date, but it's still airing it. There's some final episodes of season 5.
Yes,
and we
we're
can
on
wait on Tuesday. Yeah. So we can wait to see more of Leela's journey and what's next. So stay tuned, and thank you again, Anuja, for joining us.
Thank you so much for taking out your time. I had so much fun chatting with you.